Today's lesson is on multiplying and dividing rational numbers. First, we're going to look at multiplying rational numbers. So for number 1, we have negative 5/8 plus 7/15. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look and see if we can simplify. So we have negative 5/8 times 7/15. We're going to look at the numbers that are across from each other. So 5 and 15, and then we'll look at 7 and 8. For 5 and 15, we can divide both of those by 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. For 7 and 8, we can only divide those by 1, so we'll go ahead and keep those numbers the same. Now we can multiply straight across. So 1 times 7 is 7, and 8 times 3 is 24. The first fraction was a negative, and the second one was a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative. So our answer will be negative 7/24. Now for number 2, we have mixed numbers. So we have negative 2 1/4 times negative 3 3/5. The first thing we'll do is make our mixed numbers into improper fractions. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So our first one is negative 9/4. And we're going to multiply that by 5 times 3, and we're going to multiply that by 3. And now we're going to look at negative 3 3/5. We can multiply 5 times our 3, which is 15, plus our 3 is 18. So we're going to have negative 18/5. Now we're going to do the same thing we did on our first problem. We're going to see if we can simplify. So 9 and 5. Those two numbers can only be divided by 1, so we're going to leave those alone. 18 and 4 can both be divided by 2, so we'll go ahead and simplify those. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 18 divided by 2 is 9. Now we can go ahead and multiply. 9 times 9 is 81, and 2 times 5 is 10. We have a negative times a negative, which makes it a positive answer. So we have 81/10. We can then change 81/10 back into a mixed number. So we'll do 81 divided by 10, and 10 goes into 81 8 times. 8 times 10 is 80. We have, when we subtract, we get 1. So this is going to be 8 and 1/10. So our answer, 81/10, equals 8 and 1/10. Now we're going to look at dividing rational numbers. So for number 3, we have negative 1/5 divided by 3/10. So I have negative 1/5 divided by 3/10. When we divide fractions, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which means that we'll change our division to multiplication, and we'll flip the second fraction over. So I have negative 1/5 times 10/3. Now that I've made this into a multiplication problem, I'm going to look and see if I can simplify. I have 1 and 3 across from each other, and the only thing I can do is divide those by 1, so I'll keep those the same. And then I have 5 and 10, which both can be divided by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Now I'll go ahead and multiply. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. And then I need to look at the sign. I have a negative times a positive, so my answer will be negative. So I have negative 2/3. And for number 4, I have negative 6 divided by 3 5/8. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make 3 5/8 into an improper fraction. I will also make 6 into an improper fraction. I do that by putting a 1 underneath it. So I can say this is negative 6 over 1, and then I have divided by 8 times 3 is 24, plus 5 is 29. So I have 29/8. Now I'm going to go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal. So my first fraction will stay the same. So I have negative 6 over 1. My division becomes multiplication, and I'm going to flip the second fraction over. So I have 8 over 29. Now I look to see if I can simplify. 6 and 29 cannot be simplified, and 8 and 1 cannot be simplified. So I will just go ahead and multiply across. 6 times 8 is 48. 1 times 29 is 29. And now I need to look at the sign. I have a negative times a positive, so my answer is negative. Now I'm going to change my answer, negative 48/29, into a mixed number. So I'm going to take 48 and divide that by 29. 29 will go into 48 one time. I'm going to subtract. I need to borrow from the 4 to make it a 3. And then I have 18, so 18 minus 9 will be 9. And 3 minus 2 is 1. So I have 1 and 19/29. I need to remember that my answer was negative. So my answer is going to be negative 1 and 19/29.